So we're going to be using rubber mask grease. Now rubber mask grease is it's very thick and very heavy to work with. So the castor sealer that I have, which castor sealer is just castor oil, that will thin the rubber mask grease down and make it easier to work with. So it's going to make it more fluid for you. Now one thing to keep in mind here is we have to do some color correcting to this because we need to cancel out this black tone. So thinking about color theory, remember we had our whole tattoo lecture about color theory. Thinking about color theory, remember when we covered the tattoo that was black, we used an orange tone. So using an orange tone again is what we want to use here to help balance the color out. So we have two different color wheels here. And I'm going to take this sort of rosy tone. And we're going to use quite a bit of this. So no need to be shy when you're pulling the product out. And then again, with a ripped up sponge, it's the same thing. It's the same motion. Now this isn't going to go anywhere except on the black area. So make sure that this isn't going all the way onto anything else. We just want to take this as our color corrector. And again, even though there is a lot of this black showing, you still want to do it in this tap motion, and that'll give you the most natural appearance to it. Again, too, the front and the sides are the most important, so spend the majority of your time working on those and then move your way to the back. See how this tone is very opaque and really starting to cancel that black tone out, so we can start bringing some life back into this area to make it look as though there's no hair. Already looking bald, in my opinion. Your arm's gonna get really tired and sore from stippling. Mine already is. Even the areas that you don't see as much black coming through as the others, still make sure you hit it with some of this tone, because the cap will press into the hair at some point and it will show more. But do a heavier application on the areas that do have. more of the visible black. That way you get the nice opaque finish out of it. You could also use airbrush on this. Airbrush will speed up the process as well. There are certain bald caps you can buy that are pre-colored in a deeper tone versus these that are a little bit more translucent. Those can also really help to speed up your paint time because they already have a bit of the color correction built into it. Do you want to turn? There's good. Okay, so now we've effectively sealed and color corrected the bald cap. And the next step is going to move into bringing in some of his skin tone into here. Now you can certainly continue to do this with your rubber mask grease and mix a flesh tone similar to his. I always like to go a little bit darker on the first round and then the next round go more true to skin tone just to kind of cover things a bit more. And you know, the head would match fairly close to the face, but it's not going to be identical. Typically the head is either going to be a little bit lighter because the person wears a hat a lot, or maybe it'll be a little bit darker or more tan because they're in the sun a lot and the head's more exposed to the elements. So it should blend majority, you know, it should look like it's the exact same, but they will be slightly different from one another since they are different parts of the skin. So if you're going to use your rubber mask grease, you would do it the exact same way as this. Mix up your color and just stipple around. The stippling around will really give that broken up texture and tone to it so you get a little bit more realism to it. Or if you're going to do airbrush, which is what I'm going to do, is do some airbrush tone color on top of this. You would do the same thing, only with the airbrush versus with the sponge. So the next step we're going to do is actually take some skin tone airbrush color and airbrush right on top of here to blend right in. So because we're working on the top of the head, not on the face, we can have the PSI a bit higher than before when we were working a little bit smaller. You still don't want it to be too high because you want some control over where it's going. And we're just gonna spray right on top. And this is slowly gonna build up in some light washes of color. We'll be going through quite a bit of paint for this. And this doesn't need to be one complete flat wash of color because we're going to do a couple other tones. We want to just create washes of color here. If we did one flat color and then another flat color and then another flat color, it would just look flat. And turn your head straight. So this is our first wash is done. Okay, now we're kind of going in with a medium tone. From there, we did a darker, we did a lighter, and now we're gonna go more medium. That's a bit closer to his actual skin tone. And we'll drop the PSI for this one. And now you can go just like this. You see how it's kind of spattering out paint all over? This is a great way to do that exact same stippling technique that I showed you with the brush, but with the airbrush. That way you don't have to keep switching between different paints and products that you're using. This will help to break up the tone a bit for you. Make sure you hit all the different areas with whatever layer you're doing, so there's not a little patch that's left without. And once I've got the base washes done, I'm gonna go back in with our paint by hand to control a bit better where everything is going. So I'm gonna take a bit of our rubber mask grease just to stipple around the front. I don't like how airbrush sits around the front hairline, so I like to do this with sponge. See how these washes of color help to just build this natural look without getting something that just looks like a flat one-dimensional piece. And then too, you can see how using different varying types of paint, you can really custom tailor it to how you really like it. So for example, I really like it to be kind of flip-flopping back and forth between the paint styles. Maybe because I like the color better, the texture better, whatever it may be, between the different ones. Be imperfect with where you're placing it, and it'll help to break it up. Do now, let's go in with our chip brush and our Skin Illustrator and do the same flicking motion on top to break the tone up with some different colors. The same way we did on top of the tattoo cover-up, we're doing a very similar technique here. Close your eyes for me. I'm gonna have you keep your eyes closed here. This is, again, a really great way to add some difference in tone to help paint it the way you want it to look. So that was kind of a sienna color that I used. Now I'm going to add a little bit of cool tone with some light blue. Your eyes closed. These little washes and droplets of color are just a really great way to, again, break it up so it's not looking like one flat piece. It just gives more dimension and more movement to it. Brings a bit more realism. You could also think too, depending on the character, adding veins is a really great way to bring a little bit more of a realism to it. So if you want to add some veins, what you could do is use this same cool tone, or make an even darker vein tone if you're wanting to. And you can just draw some tiny little veins around on top of the head to give a little bit more of a natural feel to it. You can also add little age spots depending on the age of the character. Age spots are a great way, again, to add a level of realism to it. And don't forget about the top of the head. Make sure that you continue it all the way up here. One more color, just a little bit of a broken capillary tone. Just a really light mist on top. For again, just another break in texture, another break in tone, makes it a little bit more realistic. Then, once all said and done with the paint, what you want to do is just get a little bit of remover on a cotton bud. You don't need a lot here. But just take it around the eye area. Specifically, I can see on his eyebrow, some of the airbrush got into the eyebrow. A little bit got on a little bit of the facial hair. Now be careful that you're not bumping this actually into the lining itself, because it will begin to remove it, but just pulling that off of this area will clean it up a bit for you. Same with around the ears. Make sure you're not removing the paint that you need, but just make sure that there's nothing that's obviously messy around there. Then the last thing that you want to do before you finish this is you want to set this all with some powder. So I'm just going to get a clean paper towel. Put a bunch of no color powder on here. Take our cotton puff. Pick a good bit up. Kind of use that technique I showed you where you can wiggle it into the puff itself so it's kind of loaded in there and ready to go. Close your eyes. And then lightly tap around everywhere. So we'll hold it all in. Make it last longer, take away the stickiness to it. Make sure you're rolling it too, just pressing it right into it. Once you've got a nice heavy, you can lightly dust the excess off. Or actually easier than doing that, you can turn your airbrush back on and only use the air setting on it. This is a more delicate way of removing the powder. Especially with a bald cap, you don't want to run the risk of the powder or the brush bumping the bald cap and moving it around. So using the airbrush to blow it off with the PSI turned up nice and high is a really good option. To get the top layer going. And this is just air. Then for the final, give a quick sweep. Sure. And then to bring a little bit of life back in and to hold it longer, we're going to take our final seal, close your eyes, and just give a good spray of the final seal all over. This is going to absorb some of that surface powder, bring some life back in now that we just took it all out with the powder, and hold it on for longer for you. And then there you have your finished bald cap.